Thank you. So hello, everybody. I am Madhuri. I am part of the Unit Ventures team. And as I said, I'm here to talk to you about our 10-week Launchpad Accelerator program. So at Unit Ventures, our mission is to build and develop token entrepreneurs who will design sustainable token ventures and build and drive the new token economy. I'd like to start with what is a token entrepreneur, right? So a token entrepreneur is somebody who is an innovator. So perhaps somebody who is an expert in their industry at the moment, but they want to do things a little bit differently, right? They believe in sharing value amongst all the stakeholders involved in their project or in their business. They have dreams of wanting to create a mini economy in which all the stakeholders involved in the business or the project are incentivized to become ambassadors of their project or business. That is who we are looking for in the Launchpad. Specifically, we want to attract potential projects that already have an existing community or market. So it's really important that you have a community already that you can design a token model for, that you have an idea of what kind of incentives will drive this community, that you have a willing community to test out that model and get feedback from as to whether it actually supports your project and their goals. We want to attract individuals and teams who have a bias towards action. So this 10-week program won't be covering the theoretical background of token economics. We want it to be highly practical, and we want ventures to be learning from each other, from real world problems, from existing challenges that they have. We want them to be sharing ideas, to be basically doing. So we're looking for people who have a bias towards action over theory and reflection. We want to attract projects that are looking to make a positive social impact with their tokens. So at Unit, we don't believe that people should have to choose between impact and profit. We'd like especially then to welcome ventures into the program that are using their tokens to develop the sustainable development goals. And finally, we're looking for projects who can draft a one-page outline of their tokenization plans. So this kind of relates back to having an existing community or idea. You should have an idea of exactly how you want to use that token, what you want to use it for, how is it going to serve your community or your project in a positive way. Why are you tokenizing instead of crowdfunding, for example? All of these things are things that we want our projects to come into the Launchpad already having an idea of, and then we'll work with you to develop those ideas and those thoughts. Okay, so I thought I would start with an example of a token venture. So let's say Bob has a podcast. On this podcast, he interviews women who are in emerging technology and in that field, in that space. So he has a community or a following of around 10,000 people. Bob decides to create the Bob token, which offers token holders specific benefits. And I've listed them here. So if you have 10,000 tokens, for example, Bob will retweet what you have posted or share your LinkedIn post shares. If you have 20,000 tokens, Bob will have a one-to-one conversation with you about a topic of your choice that Bob perhaps is an expert in, perhaps something to do with women, emerging technology, or something in that field. And somebody who has 30,000 tokens can get an introduction to somebody in Bob's network. By incentivizing his community to buy these tokens, those community members become active supporters of Bob's projects and of Bob's work. And as he does well, they do well. He can use those funds that he gets from these tokens to build his venture even further. So maybe start another podcast or a radio show, etc. In this token model, he knows his community really well, and he has designed the model so that he can build a core team or core following of his work and projects. This is one example of a potential venture for the Launchpad. I now have another one. Oh. So this is the village project. So the goals of this project are very, very different to Bob's goals. Rather than focusing on growth and scaling, this is more of an innovative venture, showcasing how this particular industry, in this case real estate, works using tokens. So in this case, there's some details here about what the actual village looks like. So you've got 600,000 village tokens were sold at $1 each, raising $600,000. Tokenization in this case has allowed the community in this village to play a part in their surroundings, essentially. So those are two examples of potential Launchpad projects that we will be taking through the 10-week accelerator program. What will they be doing? So here are our plans for the Launchpad structure. So we have two phases: to build skills and confidence as a token entrepreneur, and then to scale businesses based on specific project goals and basically accessing greater funding and resources. We are very early stages at the moment. So for our first few batches, we will be working much more closely with the ventures that take part, and we'll be learning together. We'll be asking for a lot more feedback on our resources and, for example, this particular structure and our methodologies, and we'll be looking for opportunities to really build up our case studies to showcase in our future Launchpad programs. So we've got two phases here: build and scale. And for the next few ventures, what will that actually look like? So here are some of the more kind of going into more detail. What will we be offering? So I'm going to go into each of these in more detail. But essentially the platform, coaching, mentors, accessing our networks, it's very much based around community and resources and sharing. Okay, so starting with the unit network platform. So ventures will have access to the digital platform, which is the unit network. They'll be able to very easily create and sell their tokens to their community. They'll have features to be able to engage with their community and understand how their token models are working. And they'll be able to use the features listed here, such as pools, stores, contests, events, and news, to really understand how their existing model is working, to maybe adapt it and then try a new approach to the incentivization with the community that they have. They'll also be able to connect with people within the unit ecosystem. And I'll come back to this because we cover it a little bit more later, but we have a wide variety of entrepreneurs, artists, freelancers, etc., who are all involved in Unit, believe in Unit's mission, believe in driving the token economy. So there will be the opportunity to find and access that network to support ventures to reach their goals. Finally, they'll be able to track their progress and the progress of other ventures in the Launchpad against specific KPIs on a leaderboard. And I have a screenshot example of what this might look like. So this is on the Unit Network app. You'll have a list of the different ventures and projects, and you'll be able to see in real time. This is a data-driven approach that we're trying to launch at Unit. They'll be able to see how they're doing against specific KPIs. We think it's really important at Unit to be mindful of well-being, and so we'll be offering weekly group coaching sessions on Zoom. So I've listed here just examples of the kinds of topics that we'll be covering. As I said, especially in the early batches, we will be tailoring the topics as much as we can to specific venture and project goals. So these are examples of problem solving, for example, exercises, etc. But we're going to be very flexible in the beginning. So I mentioned earlier having access to the networks within the unit ecosystem. So I mentioned here mentor and token entrepreneur networks. We think building a new economy isn't something that you should have to do alone, and you'll be able to share reflections and insights about your real project challenges with other ventures who are going through the same journey as you are. So here are some of the potential discussions that you might have with either other ventures who again are in your industry, or perhaps at your stage of development, because we imagine there'll be projects coming into us at different stages of development. So things like we've heard already from speaking to potential ventures: how do I onboard non-crypto native members of my community as ambassadors for my project? How do I design incentives to scale my project globally? And has anybody managed to funnel stakeholders into their core team? These are all examples of really insightful discussions that you can have with other ventures or with potential mentors that you can find within the unit ecosystem, as well as outside the unit ecosystem as well. We'll be facilitating those discussions. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a highly practical program. And I also mentioned having access to a network of existing freelancers. These are all potential goals that you might want to achieve throughout the 10 weeks. So promoting your project through a podcast, creating a video explainer of your product or service, designing training, I think is a really important one, to onboard core team members. These are all things that you'll be able to access the unit ecosystem much easier than a regular startup would. So you'll be able to find somebody to do this for you, essentially, to work with you within the community. And this is the framework that we are structuring project development around on the 10-week Launchpad program. So these are the KPIs that we'll be looking at around marketing, organization, what's the product, and how are sales going. And I've put here some examples of skills that you could develop, but also conversations that you'll have with other Launchpad ventures. So with marketing, again, I spoke about it before, things like engaging your community, crypto versus non-crypto user groups. When we're looking at organization, we're thinking about what does the team look like? So challenges related to onboarding core team members or managing a distributed workforce, for example. With a product, designing participant incentives. Perhaps your stakeholders over the 10 weeks will change. You'll identify a different market that you want to market your venture, you want to crack into. You'll have to design different participant incentives for that different user group. What could that look like? And finally, driving token sales and value is something that you'll learn by doing, reflecting, and doing again, essentially. Here is an outline at the moment of our plans for the batches for 2022. So we are planning to kick off our first batch in January, 18th of January. So at the moment we're speaking to specific or potential applicants, and we're speaking to potential applicants about the January batch and asking them to fill out an application form. I'll actually come back to that later. And then we're looking to learn from each of these batches. 2022 is very much going to be a learning phase of gathering examples from existing token ventures, building case studies so that we can use them in future batches as models, essentially. And we're just going to continue to build the network and build the community so that people have more and more access to resources as they go through the Launchpad program and become part of the unit network and the unit ecosystem. this is our team so far, although our team is growing. So these are just a few of the people at the moment that are involved in the Unit Ventures Launchpad program in different ways. So potential mentors, potential resources for you to reach out to and learn from. Just basically a group of people who believe in driving the token economy and innovating different industries and cities. And these are the next steps. So at the moment, we are finalizing our application form for the 10-week program. And we ask that people complete the application form and submit a token one-pager. So that is basically a summary of what would you like to do with the token? How will you distribute your token to your different stakeholders? If you aren't sure about this stage and maybe coming in and completing the application form and submitting the token one-pager, feel free to reach out to anybody within the unit team to get some more information on what the expectations are. Or if you just want to have a conversation about where you are with your project, that's also possible. If you do decide though that you want to take part, then please let us know. Put your contact details in the chat today, especially, and we can reach out to you. We'll send out the application form and we'll give you some more information. And that is everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madhuri. We have just popped up the question here in the chat. What's in it for Unit? What is the cost for the team and entrepreneur?
What is the cost?
Yes, what's in it for Unit? And what are the costs to the team and entrepreneurs?
Okay, so I guess what's in it for Unit is it is driving our mission, as I said, Unit Ventures specifically, to build the token economy, to develop more token entrepreneurs and to create this ecosystem of token entrepreneurs to be able to to learn from each other about how this is going to go, because it's very new, it's very innovative, and it's very different. In terms of how much will it cost, it won't cost anything. So as I said, complete the application form, design your token one-pager, and then get in touch. But there's no costs to actually take part in the accelerator program.
Wonderful. And actually, oh, there's another question. Otherwise, I also have one. Do you recommend or incentivize to build on certain chain?
No, that is not a question for me, I'm afraid. My background is in learning design, curriculum design. I look at how people learn, engage, etc. I can answer questions on psychology, perhaps. I'm not.
No technical blockchain related question. Which consent mechanism would we use? No, just kidding. We have another question. Does Unit invest for equity, or is it just that we use Unit as a tool for launching the token?
Good question. So these are the things that so at the moment, you can use the Unit platform to issue the token, exactly, and also manage the token sales and exchange, and etc. within your community. There's no, what was the question? Sorry, does Unit invest in equity?
Does Unit invest for equity?
No, so there's no, as I said, there's no cost at the moment in terms of expectations from Unit. So we are just trying to build this ecosystem of token entrepreneurs. So we want people to use the platform to issue their tokens, to manage their community, to reach out to other entrepreneurs, to learn from each other, and just build the new economy together, essentially.
Great. I also have actually like a question, because a friend of mine, he works like as a manager for female soccer player. And yeah, and they are also thinking maybe to tokenize like all of the specific football players, the females, and they're thinking of like a marketing strategy and everything. But also like they could actually use like our tokens to create like a token for each of the single football player, and then do like the whole like community to the fans can buy into it. So would this be a suitable case study for Units, or?
So I'm gonna say yes, because it sounds really exciting, and then I'm just gonna pass to Brett, because I've seen that Brett's face popped up and he's a fantastic resource within our team. And he just looks really excited. So Brett,
Okay.
you're on mute, Brett.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds like a really exciting case example for tokenization, actually. I mean, there's lots of great advantages, but certainly one of them in tokenizing with Unit, you become a part of a community, and that community will have the opportunity to invest into your projects as well. So this first batch, which we're going to be observing with great interest and developing with a lot of passion to really make sure that those tokens succeed, is that the people within the ecosystem may also take an interest in those early stage projects and consider being a part of them as well. But in answer to your question, Mark, about tokenizing a football team, I mean, absolutely, certainly, like crowdfunding, the outreach to community is really critical. So any existing community, large communities that already exist, is a great opportunity there to give those communities the opportunity to be a part of a project, be a part of a football team. And certainly there are great examples of sport being tokenized with great success. Yeah. Thanks, Madhuri.
Okay, great. So I can, I'll forward your contact to my friend, and then he can also maybe participate in one of the Launchpad batches.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think Madhuri is going to be our point person, but certainly there's an application process to be a part of the first and second batches that are open now.
Great. I will make him register then. So, perfect.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
I think we have another question in the chat. So the first one is Unit also for absolute beginners? Interesting.
Is Unit for absolute beginners, or is the
Yes.
Launchpad for absolute beginners?
Is Unit like, well, Unit?
So this is a good question. It's a great question. I think Unit itself, so we have like an entire ecosystem, right? And the Unit Ventures Launchpad is just one part of that ecosystem. Unit Masters, for example, does not require any pre-existing knowledge, and is a really good resource if you are a complete beginner and you like the idea of the token economy principles, right? So of sharing value amongst your shareholders, of having your community believe in your project and to be project ambassadors. If you like those principles, but you're not really sure where to start, I'd say go through the Unit Masters. I'd say speak to other people within the Unit ecosystem, because we're very open and available to always ask questions. And then I think, as I said, for the Launchpad at the moment especially, and long term will be, we'll have more case studies to be able to open it up even earlier to different kinds of people. At the moment, we're looking for people that have an idea of what their token model will look like and have goals as to what they're going to do with that token. So my advice would be Unit Masters, speak to people, friendly faces within the Unit ecosystem, because it would be very easy to join our community in a more informal way.
Get educated through the master process, more familiar what can you do, and then you find a better understanding.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Also, another question from Gero Klinger. What are the requirements for the application? What startup project stage are you looking for? Is it a concept stage? Fine. Sorry if I have missed the part of the presentation. I think you joined later because you were touching on this, but maybe you can really quick put it in a nutshell, like what are the requirements for the application and what stage or final?
Yep. So we're looking for, we're basically looking for projects, I think I mentioned before, that have an existing community. So have a product that you know that product market fit is already there. It's something that perhaps you can work on, but we want to have projects that have a token model that they can test out with an existing community. So you need to have an awareness of their potential needs and how you can design incentives for them, for example. So completely early stage, if you don't have a community already following, then we'd ask that you develop that before coming into the Launchpad. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that, Brett, though?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, tokenization is very similar in some ways to crowdfunding. You need to be able to tell your story powerfully. You need to have an audience. I mean, certainly a Unit is not going to be able to create your audience for you. if you already have an audience, then we can help you tokenize a existing business or a project or product or service or community. But without that capacity to do outreach, then we're going to create something and then it's not going to have anywhere to go. So certainly, to get that low-hanging fruit success, it's existing communities that we can help to grow and scale.
Thanks, Brett. And so, as we said, we're very early stages with this. And so if you do have an idea, ideally, please do reach out to us, because we would just like to hear from you and even just hear about anybody who heard the talk and is interested in tokenizing, even if you don't have wherever your product is, whatever stage you're at the moment, have a conversation with us. We'd love it.
There's a good question there from Tam about, in terms of volume, what do you mean by community? And I think what's most important is the depth and quality of the engagement. If you have a team of 20 people that are super engaged and super passionate and ready to make something happen, that's better than having 5,000 followers on Instagram that aren't engaged at all. So, I mean, certainly, outreach is going to be important, but level of engagement is really critical as well.